Be me. 26-year-old software developer who spends more time on 4chan than in direct sunlight. My entire social life consists of arguing with Redditors online and occasionally touching grass when the delivery driver needs a signature to drop off my packages. Family dinner is coming up in 2 weeks and Mom has been texting me every single day about it without fail. Are you bringing a girlfriend this time, sweetheart? You're really not getting any younger, you know. Your cousin Derek just got engaged. Isn't that absolutely wonderful? Cousin Derek is a complete cuck who proposed after 3 months because his girlfriend gave him a very specific ultimatum involving a ring or a breakup. But sure, Mom, very wonderful indeed. At the annual family dinner is basically a competitive sport where every single person competes to see whose life looks the most impressive on the surface. Uncle Rich brings his new motorcycle every single year, even though he's 58 years old and has serious back problems that he refuses to acknowledge. Aunt Carol brings an entire printed portfolio of her kids' academic achievements, like she's running a political campaign at the dinner table. Grandma brings herself and her completely unfiltered and unapologetic opinions, and honestly, she's the only person at that table I genuinely respect without reservation. But the main event every single year without exception is everyone taking turns asking me why I'm still single. Just last year, Mom actually made a full PowerPoint presentation about the supposed benefits of online dating and presented it to me at the actual dinner table in front of everyone. A PowerPoint with actual bullet points and a dedicated slide titled "Anon's future happiness depends on taking this seriously." I told her I would absolutely think about it and then went home and shitposted aggressively for 6 consecutive hours. Anyway, 2 weeks before the dinner, I'm deep in a rabbit hole scrolling through a Reddit thread about family pressure, and someone in the comments mentions this website. It's literally a professional service where you can hire a real person to pretend to be your romantic partner for family events and social occasions. And the Redditor who posted about it said it completely changed his life, and the comment got 3,000 upvotes and a gold award. Classic Reddit behavior, outsourcing your entire personality and romantic credibility to a paid professional actor. But then I think very seriously about Mom's PowerPoint presentation, and I go to the website without closing the tab. It's called Companionship Solutions, which is absolutely the most sterile and corporate name humanly possible for what is essentially a professional lying service. I scroll through the available profiles like I'm on a particularly corporate and soul-crushing version of Tinder. Most of them are people who do this work between acting gigs or as a side hustle to pay their rent. Then I see Vanessa's profile picture and stop scrolling immediately. Her bio says, "You professional fake girlfriend. I will meet your entire family, laugh convincingly at your dad's terrible jokes, compliment your mom's cooking with genuine enthusiasm, and absolutely roast you in private in the car on the way home. Currently rated 4.9 stars out of 5. 4.9 stars. This woman has almost a perfect rating for professionally pretending to date complete strangers at family gatherings. That's simultaneously incredible and genuinely terrifying when you think about it for more than a second." I read through her reviews section carefully. Vanessa single-handedly saved my Thanksgiving dinner this year. My mom cried actual happy tears. Absolute 10 out of 10. She knew more about my specific interests and hobbies than I did after a single briefing call. A complete professional queen. My dad immediately tried to set her up with my older brother instead, which was slightly awkward, but she handled it with complete grace. Okay, this woman is clearly operating at a level of professionalism that I cannot fully comprehend. I book her for the dinner. She charges $250 for a 4-hour event, which breaks down to $62.50 per hour to pretend to like me. I've spent significantly more than that on Steam games I downloaded and never once opened, so I'm not going to pretend this is financially irresponsible. We schedule a briefing call 2 days after I book her. She's on video chat, sitting at what looks like a remarkably well-organized desk with actual color-coded sticky notes and a fresh notepad already open in front of her. She looks completely normal, like someone you'd see working at a good coffee shop or a university library, kind of pretty in a low-effort and effortless way that suggests she genuinely doesn't care what anyone thinks about it. "Okay, so walk me through your family dynamics completely," she says the second the call connects. Zero small talk. I appreciate that enormously. Mom is the main concern and primary threat. She's been actively trying to get me married off since I was 22 years old. What's her specific personality type? Anxious overachiever with a consistent undercurrent of passive aggression. Vanessa writes that down on her notepad. She actually writes it down with a real pen. "Father, Vibes-based guy, pretty easy to impress if you mention sports or compliment anything about his garden. What specific sport? Football primarily? Oh, but he'll happily accept general enthusiasm as a reasonable substitute. She writes that down too without hesitation. Siblings? One older brother named Kevin, married, has one kid, genuinely believes he's better than everyone in the family because he bought a house in the suburbs 3 years ago. Kevin's wife? Melissa. She's fine as a person, slightly competitive with my mom in ways neither of them acknowledge, brings organic food to every family event as though it's a core part of her personality. Grandma? I pause for a noticeable moment. Grandma is an active wildcard situation. Define wildcard with specific examples. She's 73 years old, has absolutely zero filter at all times, calls everything exactly as she sees it, and then has been actively posting on 4chan since approximately 2009. Complete silence on the call. Your grandmother is a regular 4channer? She discovered it during a particularly slow stretch of early retirement and simply never left. Does she use the actual terminology? She called my cousin's boyfriend a normie directly to his face at Christmas dinner, and he had no idea what it meant, but somehow still felt genuinely insulted and upset by it. Vanessa stares at me through the screen for several seconds. Okay, Grandma is categorized as wildcard, noted in red pen. She writes something that from this camera angle looks very much like handle with extreme caution and respect. We spend another 35 minutes going over my specific interests in detail, how we supposedly met, and a complete fake backstory involving a mutual friend who introduced us at an independent bookshop. Vanessa specifically suggested the bookshop meeting story because it sounds genuinely wholesome, and your mom will very likely cry a little. This woman is a complete professional operating at an elite level. She says she'll review all the notes thoroughly before the dinner and to text her immediately if anything significant changes. She ends the call precisely on time. Day of the dinner finally arrives. I'm wearing a button-up shirt that I actually ironed for the very first time in approximately 4 years because this situation demands it. She shows up at my apartment door at exactly 4 p.m., not 1 minute early or late. She's wearing a nice but deliberately casual dress, hair done well, carrying a small and tasteful gift bag. What's actually in the bag, I ask? Flowers specifically chosen for your mom and a small decorative plant for the table, because it photographs well and looks thoughtful without crossing into try-hard territory. I stand in my doorway staring at her. You have genuinely done this many times, haven't you? 47 documented times. 47 times! I am very specifically good at navigating other people's families. We do a 5-minute rapid-fire rundown in my living room before leaving. She quizzes me on every detail like we're cramming for a very high-stakes final exam. Where did we first meet? Bookshop. Introduced by our mutual friend Jake. How long have we officially been dating? 3 months exactly. What do I do professionally? Freelance graphic design work. What happened on our actual first proper date? The Italian restaurant near the park. You ordered something in Italian that you couldn't actually pronounce, and we both laughed about it for too long. She nods, satisfied with my preparation. You're considerably better prepared than the majority of my clients. I was a Boy Scout growing up. Were you actually? No, but I've spent enough time on 4chan to understand how to construct a completely plausible narrative under pressure. She almost smiles at that. Almost. We drive to my parents' house and she spends the entire drive reviewing her briefing notes on her phone screen, which I find equal parts impressive and slightly robotic in a fascinating way. We pull up outside the house and I can already clearly see Mom peering through the front curtain. She's already watching from the window, I mutter. They always are, Vanessa says with complete calm. The front door swings open before we even reach the end of the garden path. Mom is already visibly emotional. Oh my God, she is absolutely beautiful. Vanessa smiles warmly and presents the flowers immediately. These are for you, Mrs. Anon. I've genuinely heard so much about your garden and I've been looking forward to seeing it. Mom completely and immediately melts on the spot. This woman is an actual professional weapon disguised as a person. Dad comes to the door, shakes Vanessa's hand firmly, and then looks at me with the expression of a man who just watched his son score a last-minute touchdown. Good job, son, he says very quietly as she steps inside. Brother Kevin and his wife, Melissa, are already seated inside. Kevin gives me a very loaded look that says, when did this actually happen, and why wasn't I informed? Melissa gives Vanessa a thorough and evaluating look that Vanessa returns with a professionally calibrated smile that should honestly be studied in a proper academic setting. Then Grandma emerges from the kitchen. She's wearing her reading glasses balanced on top of her head, holding a wooden spoon and squinting at Vanessa with the specific energy of a person who has witnessed everything life has to offer and trusts absolutely nothing by default. "So you're the girlfriend," she says flatly. "And I am," Vanessa says without hesitation. Grandma looks directly at me. "She real, or did you find her on one of those Reddit threads you're always lurking on, you little Janny? I am going to have a genuine medical event right here in this hallway. Grandma, she is absolutely real. She is literally standing right here in front of you. I can see she's standing here. I'm not blind. I'm asking if she's here, or paid to be here. Vanessa doesn't flinch or change expression even slightly. "I'm here," she says pleasantly and with complete confidence. Grandma stares at her without blinking for a full 5 uncomfortable seconds. "You've got very steady eyes," Grandma says finally. "Thank you very much. I'll be watching the whole evening." Grandma disappears back into the kitchen. But I am actively sweating through my freshly ironed shirt. Vanessa leans close and whispers directly, "She is going to be by far the most interesting part of this entire dinner." She is absolutely not wrong about that assessment. Dinner begins, everything is running smoothly. Mom unleashes the full artillery of questions she's been carefully storing up all year. "How did you two first meet?" "A mutual friend introduced us at an independent bookshop," Vanessa says completely smoothly. "I was looking at graphic novels and this one was trying to find a book someone had recommended to him, but he couldn't quite remember the title correctly." I nod along with the appropriate level of mild embarrassment. Said he described the entire plot to the bookshop worker incorrectly and I had to step in and correct him. "That is just so absolutely cute," Mom says, gripping the table edge. Brother Kevin is eating his food quietly, but watching everything with the suspicious focus of a man who has always had an unfortunate bloodhound quality for detecting bullshit in any form. "What exactly do you do professionally, Vanessa?" he asks. "Freelance graphic design, primarily branding work for small businesses." "Interesting. Where did you actually study design?" "Parsons." I didn't know she was going to say Parsons. She said Parsons with the complete and total confidence of someone who absolutely went there. Mental note. Ask later if Vanessa actually attended Parsons or strategically chose it, because it's impossible to verify credibly at a dinner table. "Joe, what kind of design clients are you working with currently?" Kevin presses. "Mostly food and retail brands at the moment. I had a genuinely fun project recently redesigning product packaging for a local specialty coffee company." She proceeds to describe this completely fabricated design project with such specific and convincing detail that Melissa is now asking enthusiastic follow-up questions with genuine personal interest. Vanessa has completely cock-blocked Kevin's interrogation using sheer professional competence. "I am developing feelings in real time and I'm aware that this is a problem. I mean professionally, for now." Dinner continues at a comfortable pace. Grandma is eating quietly at her end of the table, but her eyes are moving constantly, watching everything. Dad and I fall into easy football conversation. But Mom and Vanessa are now 30 minutes deep into a surprisingly detailed conversation about garden planning that I absolutely did not see coming from any direction. Vanessa apparently has a non-trivial and suspiciously specific amount of knowledge about perennial plants. "Did you actually put plants on my briefing notes?" I whisper when we're both reaching for the bread basket at the same time. "I added it after you specifically mentioned the garden during the call," she whispers back without missing a beat. This woman researched perennial plants for a 4-hour paid job. Kevin leans over during a brief quiet moment between conversations. "She seems almost too good at this," he says very quietly. "What is that supposed to mean exactly?" "I mean, she's clearly great, but she's almost like too smooth." Yet nobody is actually this naturally comfortable at a first family dinner. Maybe she genuinely likes me, Kevin. "Do you even know what her middle name is?" I absolutely do not know what her middle name is. "We've been dating 3 months, not 3 years, Kevin." He nods very slowly with the deliberate energy of a detective filing away crucial evidence for later. Melissa pulls him back into the main conversation, and the immediate threat is neutralized. Then Grandma speaks up from her position at the far end of the table. "Vanessa, what's your honest opinion about modern dating apps?" Everyone looks up from their plates simultaneously. Grandma doesn't usually ask questions at dinner. She usually makes declarative statements that abruptly end conversations. I think they've fundamentally changed how people connect and meet, and not always for the better, honestly, Vanessa says carefully. Grandma says. Do you personally think my grandson deserved to be alone for as long as he was? Mom makes a small, distressed sound. Mom, please, not at dinner, she starts. I'm asking the girlfriend a direct question, not you. Vanessa thinks for just a moment before responding. I think he was waiting for the right specific situation to present itself, she says calmly. Not everyone operates on exactly the same timeline. Grandma points at her across the table with her fork. Diplomatic answer. Thank you. I didn't say that as a compliment. This dinner is honestly incredible entertainment. Dessert arrives and everything is still running perfectly. I genuinely think we're going to survive this entire evening without incident. I am wrong, because Cousin Derek arrives completely unannounced. Nobody told me Cousin Derek was coming tonight. Derek is 28, works in sales, has very specific and loud opinions about protein shake brands and masculinity podcasts, and got engaged after 3 months because of an ultimatum. He walks in with his fiancée Brittany, who has an engagement ring the approximate size of a small decorative planet on her finger. Prize! Mom said there was a big dinner, so we thought we'd just swing by. Wonderful timing as always, Derek. Derek immediately spots Vanessa across the room. His eyes do that specific thing that men who are too confident about themselves do when they see an attractive woman. And who exactly is this? He says, walking over with too much casual energy. Vanessa, I'm here with Anon, she says, gesturing toward me simply. No way. Anon actually has a girlfriend now, Derek says to the entire room like it's the funniest thing he's heard all month. Apparently I do, Derek, I say. He ignores me completely and leans against the table next to Vanessa. So how did you end up with this particular guy? He asks with a wide grin, jerking his thumb at me dismissively. Vanessa tilts her head at him. What exactly do you mean by this guy? You know, like Anon's just, you know what I mean. I genuinely don't know. Please explain it clearly. Derek senses the trap he has walked directly into approximately 1 second too late. He's just kind of a homebody type. I didn't really expect him to pull what specifically? Brittany is watching her own fiancé walk into a perfectly constructed verbal ambush and is choosing not to intervene for reasons of her own. There's someone like you, Derek finishes with considerably less confidence than he started with. Vanessa smiles at him completely pleasantly. I didn't realize people were sorted into leagues. That sounds genuinely exhausting to track and maintain. Mom laughs out loud. Grandma makes a sound that might be suppressed approval. Derek retreats immediately to get a plate of food from the kitchen. Brittany gives Vanessa a very small but unmistakable nod of genuine solidarity. I look at Vanessa. She gives me the tiniest professional smile in return. This woman is worth every single penny and then considerably more. After the main dinner, while we're helping clear the table, Mom pulls Vanessa quietly aside into the kitchen. I can hear muffled happy talking and what sounds like enthusiastic exclamation from Mom's end. Then Kevin materializes at my elbow like a ghost. Middle name, he says. Drop it completely, Kevin. I'm just noting that she's real. We're actually dating. Please go eat your dessert. Kevin wanders off but continues glancing over every 30 seconds. Vanessa comes back from the kitchen looking subtly different from before. Like she just had a conversation that landed slightly more genuinely than she was prepared for. We say our goodbyes an hour later when things naturally wind down. Mom hugs Vanessa twice with full commitment. Dad gives her a complete tour of the garden using his phone flashlight, even though it's completely dark outside. Grandma stands at the front door watching us walk to the car. As we reach the car, Grandma calls out across the garden. Vanessa, she turns around. You passed, Grandma says simply. Big thank you. Don't let him become a Redditor, she says, then closes the door firmly behind her. We get in the car, long silence. So, Vanessa says. So, I say, and your grandmother absolutely knows everything. Yes. She approved anyway. She has very unconventional standards. Vanessa looks at her notes app on her phone and then deliberately closes it. That was actually a genuinely good dinner, she says. It was, Jim. Your family is real and nice. They're a lot to deal with, but yeah, they are. Your cousin Derek is an actual cuck, though. I burst out laughing in the car. He really genuinely is. She smiles properly for the first time all evening. Not the polished professional version, just a real one that reaches her eyes. I drive her back to her place. She gets out at the door and turns back. And I'll send the invoice over tonight. Yeah, seriously, you were absolutely incredible tonight. She almost says something else, then just nods once and goes inside. I drive home thinking about perennial plant varieties and what her actual middle name might possibly be. End of part 1. Beamy, still 26. 1 week after the most professionally executed family dinner in recorded human history. Paid Vanessa her full invoice, got back a very clean and itemized receipt that said companionship services, family dinner event, 4 hours, like she was a corporate IT consultant who happened to be very attractive. Technically, she was a consultant for making my mom cry happy tears, neutralizing Kevin's interrogation with design knowledge, and verbally dismantling cousin Derek without raising her voice once. I left her a 5-star review on the website that same night. Wrote, handled grandma's situation with extreme professionalism throughout, roasted cousin completely unprompted, has a suspicious amount of knowledge about perennial garden plants. She would absolutely hire again. She responded with a single thumbs up emoji. One single thumbs up, nothing else attached to it at all. I stared at that thumbs up emoji for considerably longer than any well-adjusted adult person should. Life goes back to normal after that. Shit posting on 4chan, arguing loudly with Redditors who genuinely believe they understand macroeconomics because they read 3 tweets from an account with a cartoon avatar, eating dry cereal at 11 p.m. because cooking requires effort. Standard Anon operations. Mom texts me every single day, but the content of the text has fundamentally shifted. Before the dinner, when are you finally going to get a girlfriend, sweetheart? After the dinner, Vanessa seems absolutely lovely. When is she coming to Sunday lunch? I have created an entirely new and different problem for myself. I tell Mom that Vanessa is currently very busy with client work projects. Mom says she completely understands that creative freelancers have unpredictable and demanding schedules. Mom says she has been baking and asks if I can personally bring some cookies over to Vanessa. Mom has physically baked cookies, specifically for my fake girlfriend, who she met once. This situation is actively spiraling beyond my control. I text Vanessa, "Hey, this is Anon from the family dinner last week. I was your client." She responds within 2 minutes. "I know exactly who you are. You're the only person who has ever mentioned their grandmother is an active 4chaner during a professional briefing call." Fair and accurate point. I explain the full cookie situation clearly. She actually calls me instead of texting back. "Your mom baked her cookies." Yes, she did. For me specifically and personally. She specifically asked me to deliver them to you. Pause on the line. That's genuinely sweet of her, and also a significant problem. I'm aware it's a problem. What exactly did you tell her about why I haven't visited? That you were swamped with current client work. I am actually genuinely swamped with client work right now. I know, that's precisely why I used that specific excuse. Another pause. Look, the standard procedure in this exact situation is you tell your family we've broken up amicably. I have a complete script prepared for that scenario if you'd like me to send it over. I know that's the correct and logical answer. And I know with complete certainty that's exactly what I should do. She made chocolate chip, I say instead. Very long pause on the line. I'll come pick them up this weekend, Vanessa says finally. She comes over that Saturday afternoon. She's in casual clothes this time, jeans and an oversized hoodie, looks considerably less like a polished professional and considerably more like an actual human person. She sits on my couch and eats the cookies. I make tea. We end up talking for 2 full hours. Not a briefing session, not a performance debrief, just 2 people talking. Turns out Vanessa has been running the fake girlfriend service for 2 years. She started it after she graduated and couldn't find stable, consistent design work immediately. How does a person actually end up deciding to do that job, I ask. A friend of mine asked me to pretend to be his girlfriend at a corporate work event as a personal favor, and I was apparently so convincingly good at it that someone at the event asked if I did it professionally. And you just said yes? I said yes, charged $200, and then realized I had a genuine and specific talent for it. Do you actually enjoy doing it? She thinks about it properly before answering. I enjoy the problem-solving aspect of it. Every family is completely different from the last. You have to read the situation very quickly and adjust everything on the fly. More like an actor. More like a contractor, honestly. Actors have scripts. And I improvise absolutely everything in real time. What's the single weirdest family situation you've encountered? She gets an expression like she's accessing a very large and well-organized internal database of memories. The family where the grandmother tried to actively hire me away from the original client to marry her completely different grandson. No. During dessert, while everyone was still at the table, she pulled out her phone to show me a photo. My grandmother called me a Janny to my face. Your grandmother wins that competition, Vanessa says immediately and with complete conviction, and genuinely laughs. It's a completely different laugh from the dinner, not the polished event version, just a real one that sounds like she forgot to curate it. And I'm starting to actively notice the difference between professional Vanessa and actual Vanessa, and the significant problem is that I strongly prefer actual Vanessa in every way. She finishes the cookies, says she should probably head off. At the door, she pauses for a moment. For what it's worth, you're genuinely not like most of my clients. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Most clients need me to essentially speak for them throughout the entire dinner. You were perfectly fine handling yourself. You just needed an extra person there. You're describing yourself as a prop. A very well-reviewed prop at 4.9 stars. Almost perfect. Almost, she says and goes. I go back inside and sit on my couch in the exact spot where she was sitting. This is a bad situation that is actively developing. And I am developing genuine feelings for a professional fake girlfriend who charges $62.50 per hour to pretend to like strangers. I am a Redditor. I am the exact Redditor that the 4chaners and based posters have been warning the world about. I go online and post anonymously. Anon develops real feelings for professional fake girlfriend hired for one dinner event. Rate my complete idiocy honestly. Responses include, absolute keck. You are literally the guy she told you not to worry about. This is either genuinely very sad or the setup for a rom-com. And 4 separate people asking, does she have a profile link? Very helpful and supportive community, as always without exception. Okay, new plan. Do not text Vanessa again under any circumstances. Tell mom we broke up. But you move forward with my life like a normal person. I text Vanessa the very next morning. I have absolutely zero self-control and I'm completely aware of this fact. Hey, so my mom is now asking about Christmas plans. Not technically a lie. Mom did mention Christmas at some point, broadly speaking. Vanessa responds after 20 minutes. Christmas is a tier 3 event on my pricing scale. The rate goes up. How much higher does it go? Double the standard rate. It's a longer and significantly higher stakes event. Your entire pricing structure is remarkably well organized. I have a dedicated spreadsheet for it. Of course you do. Then she says, Yin, but honestly, you don't actually need me for Christmas. Your family already genuinely likes you. I read that sentence 3 times. Oh, they like you too? I'm not real to them. You researched perennial garden plants for a 4-hour paid job. That seems pretty real to me. No response for 10 full minutes. Then, what are you actually asking me right now? Good question, Vanessa. What am I actually asking? Coffee? Not a briefing, not a job review, just 2 actual people getting coffee together. Another long pause. That's against my professional policy. Okay. But I'm technically between clients this particular week. Okay. There's a coffee place near my apartment that does excellent espresso. Send me the address. She sends it immediately. I show up the next afternoon. The coffee place is small and quiet with exposed brick walls. The kind of place where everyone has a laptop open and feels quietly superior about their choice of venue. But Vanessa's already there when I arrive. She's early by 10 minutes, has a coffee and a notebook open on the table. Are you taking actual notes on me again? I ask, sitting down. It's a habit, she says, closing it without comment. We talk for 3 solid hours. This time there's no family to navigate carefully. No character to maintain, no performance to review afterward. She tells me she actually did attend Parsons for 1 full semester before transferring somewhere less expensive. So you didn't fully lie. I never fully lie, I just choose which specific parts of the truth are most useful to present at any given moment. That's a very diplomatic framing for lying. I've been called diplomatic before. That was not a compliment, those were your grandmother's exact words. She smiles at that. She tells me the fake girlfriend business is genuinely winding down at this point because she has enough real design clients now that she doesn't need it financially. So you're essentially retiring from it? From the service specifically, yes. So I was one of your last clients? One of the last few remaining, yes. And you still research the plants for it? She looks slightly caught out. I do thorough work regardless of the circumstances. 4.9 stars. Almost perfect, she says again quietly. We're finishing up and about to leave when Kevin texts me. Yes, Kevin. Kevin, who has clearly been running a quiet background investigation since the dinner night. Hey, I found Vanessa's profile online. My stomach drops completely. On her design website? Yeah, she does solid work actually. On the companionship website, Anon. My stomach doesn't just drop, it exits through the floor and keeps going down. I genuinely don't know what you're referring to. The profile has her photo on it and says she specifically specializes in family events and first meeting scenarios. I googled her name and it came up as the third result. I am sitting directly across from Vanessa at the coffee table, and my phone screen is showing me Kevin's text in real time. Vanessa notices my expression changing. What's wrong? My brother found your profile. She goes very still. The companionship website specifically? Yes. Is he going to tell your parents immediately? I don't know. Knowing Kevin, he might sit on it and use it as leverage to feel intellectually superior to me at Christmas. She sits back in her chair. This is exactly why I have the breakup script ready. Kevin texted me directly, not my parents. Yet, I agree. We sit in silence for a moment. You could get ahead of it by telling Kevin your version before he tells anyone else, she says. Or? I mean, there isn't really a strong alternative, or we make it so it's not actually a lie anymore and Kevin has nothing real to expose. Vanessa looks at me directly. That's a genuinely convoluted way to ask someone out. I'm a 4channer. Smooth and calculated approaches are not in my repertoire. She looks down at her coffee cup. Jed, I have a professional policy. You've mentioned that policy. It's a genuinely good policy that has protected me professionally. You said you're retiring from the service. I said winding down. That's effectively the same thing in practice. She's quiet for a long moment without moving. You're not supposed to be this difficult to reason with, she says finally. Most clients aren't. Most clients genuinely needed the service to function. You apparently just wanted company. Is that actually worse than needing it? She picks up her coffee and says nothing, which is somehow the best possible answer she could have given. Kevin texts again. Are you going to explain this situation, or should I just bring it up casually at Sunday lunch with mom and dad present? I show Vanessa the text directly. And your brother is a cuck, she says pleasantly, reading it. You sound exactly like my grandmother. I genuinely respect your grandmother. What do I actually tell him? She thinks for a moment. Tell him you'll explain everything properly and that he should hold off until you talk to him. I text Kevin. I'll explain everything. Don't say anything to anyone yet. Kevin. This explanation better be genuinely impressive. Kevin. Also, she seemed really great, so I hope the explanation is a good one. Kevin is complicated in ways I don't always understand. Vanessa is looking out at the street through the window. What happens from here? I ask. You explain everything to your brother honestly. Tell him you hired someone for a dinner event and then things became unexpectedly complicated. And the complicated part? She looks at me. Dimba is currently being evaluated. By who specifically? By me, obviously. I drive home that evening feeling like I've been sitting in a waiting room for a long time and someone finally called my number, but I still don't know which office I'm actually walking into. Grandma calls me completely out of nowhere that same night. Grandma never calls anyone. She exclusively communicates through texts and the occasional screenshot of something she found on a board with zero context attached. Grandma, is everything okay? I'm perfectly fine. I called to talk about your girlfriend situation. What about it? She's not really your girlfriend, is she? This woman is genuinely psychic. Hey, what makes you say that specifically? Because I've been on 4chan since 2009 and I know a cope when I'm looking directly at one. I put my face in both hands. Grandma, I'm not even angry. I'm actually impressed you hired someone competent enough to pull it off. Most people who attempt this hire someone too obvious. How do you even know about the service? I Googled her name after the dinner, same as Kevin did probably. Both of them Googled her. Both family members independently investigated my fake girlfriend within a week. Are you going to tell mom and dad? Of course not. Your mother would have a complete and extended episode about it, and we'd all never hear the end of it for years. Thank you, Grandma. But Anon, yeah, you actually like this girl. It's not a question at all. Gee, she's a professional contact. You are being a complete little Redditor right now, and I will not tolerate it. Grandma, do you know what a Janny actually does? He does everything for free and convinces himself it's the noble and correct choice. Don't be a Janny about your own romantic life. I'm not being a Janny. You hired a fake girlfriend. She came over to your apartment to pick up cookies your mom baked for her. You went for coffee together twice. And now you're going to fake yourself right out of actually pursuing her because you're scared of being wrong. That is textbook Janny behavior. You are doing it for free. My 73-year-old grandmother is delivering a speech about emotional cowardice using active chain board terminology, and somehow it is hitting significantly harder than it should. She has a stated professional policy against dating clients. She also came to your apartment and ate cookies with you and went for coffee, both of which break the policy she claims to have. How did you know about the coffee? I didn't. You just confirmed it yourself. I hate this woman. I love this woman. Call her, Grandma says simply. I'll think about it seriously. Thinking about it is Redditor behavior. Acting is 4chan behavior. There is a meaningful difference. Those are not categories I would personally use to organize decisions. I've been doing this considerably longer than you've been alive. Call the girl. She hangs up. I sit on my couch for 20 full minutes doing nothing. Then I text Vanessa. My grandma just called me a Redditor directly. She responds in 4 seconds flat. But what specific thing did you do to deserve that? Hesitated about something important. Your grandma sounds like she'd be genuinely comfortable on certain specific boards. She's been active there since 2009. I like her more every single time you mention something about her. She told me to call you, and you texted instead. I'm working up to the calling part. Another pause. Then a response comes through. My policy has a specific clause. What clause? If the client situation legitimately becomes a non-client situation, the policy doesn't technically apply anymore. Has that clause ever actually been used before with anyone? No. So I would be the first person it applied to. Don't make it into a bigger thing than it is. I'm a 4channer, but making things into bigger things than they are is a core personality trait. 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Fine, coffee again tomorrow, but this time you're paying because you were technically a paying client. Deal. And you're telling me your grandma's actual username? Absolutely not. Then no coffee tomorrow. I laugh at my phone alone in my apartment for 30 seconds. I'll ask her. Good. I tell Kevin everything the next morning before the coffee. He sits and listens to the complete story with an expression like he's watching a very niche and surprisingly compelling documentary. So you hired her for the dinner event. Then she came to collect cookies your mom baked. Then you went for coffee twice. Yes. Yeah, that's an accurate summary. And she's coming for coffee again today. Yes. And Grandma already figured it out independently. Grandma always figures everything out. Kevin shakes his head slowly. You absolute idiot. I know. But also this is kind of a great story objectively. Please don't tell Mom. I won't, but you should tell her eventually yourself. She'll think it's genuinely romantic. Mom would think literally anything is romantic. That's not useful information. Also, I add, Vanessa called you a cuck. What? When you were interrogating her at the dinner, she called you a cuck to me quietly afterward. Kevin thinks about this for a moment. She's not wrong. I was being unnecessarily annoying about the whole thing. You were. Okay. Yeah, she's approved by me. She doesn't need your approval, Kevin. Everyone needs my approval, Anon. He's smiling though, which means he means none of it. I go to the coffee place. It's good, genuinely and quietly good. Vanessa asked me real questions this time, not briefing questions for a performance, actual ones. What do I actually do on 4chan specifically? What's the longest continuous stretch I've spent online in a single day? Do I have real friends or primarily online ones? I answer all of them completely honestly, including the embarrassing parts without filtering. She listens without any visible judgment at all. You're surprisingly self-aware for someone whose primary social habitat is an anonymous image board, she says. We contain multitudes. Who exactly is we? Anons. She shakes her head, but she's smiling while she does it. But we're walking out to the street when she stops. For the record, yeah? When your family inevitably asks how we started dating for real, yeah? We tell them the bookshop story. The mutual friend introduction, the mispronounced book title, the whole complete thing. It's a genuinely good story. You invented it entirely. I make good fake stories, she says. This time it just happens to be a fake story that became real. She walks to her car. I stand on the pavement for a second by myself. Then I call Grandma. It's done. It's about time, she says, and hangs up immediately. End of part 2. Be me. Still 26, now genuinely dating someone who was professionally fake before she accidentally became permanently real. It's been 3 full weeks since the second coffee, which was technically not a date, but was also obviously and completely a date. The transition from paid professional actor in my life to actual real person in my life is strange in specific ways I did not predict or prepare for. For example, Vanessa still has every single one of my family members' preferences perfectly memorized from the original briefing notes. She knows Dad responds well to sports conversations and genuine garden compliments. She knows Mom opens up immediately to cooking appreciation and hydrangea discussion. She knows Kevin is suspicious and interrogative by default and has to be disarmed with competence. As she knows Melissa runs on organic food solidarity and genuine professional respect. She knows Grandma is a wild card who must be approached with both respect and mild preemptive fear. The difference now is she uses all this information as an actual girlfriend instead of a paid one, which is simultaneously romantic and slightly unsettling if you think about it at the wrong angle. "Does it ever bother you that I know all of that about your family?" she asks one evening. As it bothers me that a complete stranger knew my family better than I did after a single 30-minute phone call. I'm very specifically good at reading people quickly. You are actively better at my family than I am. That's because you're too deep inside it to see it from the outside clearly. This woman has a considered answer for every single thing, and I mean that as a compliment without reservations. The first real challenge arrives 2 weeks into actual dating. Mom extends a formal invitation for both of us to Sunday lunch. Not a big event, not a performance, just a casual Sunday lunch because she made too much food. Mom always makes too much food. That's a permanent fixture of her personality, but now she has a legitimate reason to summon us both with more urgency. "Should I actually come?" Vanessa asks. "That you absolutely don't have to. Sunday lunch is significantly lower stakes than the dinner." "Is Grandma coming?" "Probably yes. She comes most Sundays without fail." "Then I want to come." Vanessa genuinely enjoys my grandmother as a person and finds her fascinating. This should probably worry me, but instead it just makes me like Vanessa considerably more. We arrive together, completely unrehearsed and unbriefed this time, not performing anything at all. Vanessa brings a bottle of wine because she's the kind of person who brings wine to Sunday lunches, which is more than I can say for myself. I usually bring nothing because I live there in the emotional and psychological sense. Mom opens the door before we're fully through the garden gate and pulls Vanessa into an immediate hug. "But I've been thinking all week about what you said about the hydrangeas," she announces before Vanessa is even fully inside the house. They talk about hydrangeas for 20 enthusiastic minutes. I eat bread at the kitchen counter and watch them interact like I'm observing a nature documentary. Dad comes in from the back garden, sees Vanessa, nods with visible approval. "She came back," he says to me quietly, like this is meaningful and confirming data. "She did." "Good," he says, and returns to the garden. Kevin is there without Melissa this time. She's visiting her own parents for the weekend. He raises a single eyebrow at me when Vanessa is distracted talking to Mom. "You told her the full and complete story?" "I did." "And she's still here anyway?" "Clearly, Kevin." "Yes." "She has an unusually high tolerance for your specific bullshit." "She's a professional." "Retired professional," he corrects immediately. "Retired professional, correct." Grandma arrives 20 minutes late wearing her good cardigan, which means she's making a deliberate effort and hasn't decided yet whether the occasion fully deserves that level of effort. She comes in, surveys the entire room methodically, spots Vanessa across it, nods once with finality. Vanessa nods back. It looks exactly like two generals exchanging formal acknowledgement on neutral territory. Lunch is genuinely good, not performance good, actually comfortable and real. Mom asks Vanessa about her design work, and Vanessa talks about a current real project, a full rebrand for a small regional restaurant chain. A dad asks the follow-up questions about the project because he has a long-standing interest in small business operations. Kevin asks technical questions about the specific design process because Kevin absolutely cannot help himself. Vanessa handles all of it easily and without strain, but this time it's actually her doing it, not a character she constructed for the occasion. I watch her answer Kevin's fourth follow-up question with genuine and specific detail and think, this is just what she's actually like. The competence isn't a performance she turns on, she's just genuinely good at everything she does as a baseline. Grandma's quiet through most of the lunch. She does this when she's processing something significant and hasn't reached a conclusion yet. And then during dessert she says, "Vanessa." Everyone at the table looks up simultaneously because Grandma addressing someone directly by name is a notable event. "Yes?" Vanessa says. "My grandson told me you called Kevin a cuck." Kevin chokes on his pudding immediately. Mom looks genuinely confused. "What exactly is a cuck?" Mom asks the table. It doesn't matter, Kevin says, still recovering. It means someone who lets things happen around them without acting, Grandma says with complete helpful clarity. Mom considers this carefully. That does actually sound like Kevin sometimes. Mom, Grandma looks at Vanessa calmly. You also told my grandson that I was the most interesting part of that dinner. You were, Vanessa says simply. Grandma points at her with her dessert spoon. This one stays, she announces to the entire table. The mom beams completely. Dad nods once with finality. Kevin mutters, I'm genuinely not a cuck. I look at Vanessa. She gives me the professional smile, except it isn't professional anymore. It's just hers now. Things are good. Genuinely and quietly good. They stay good for almost exactly a week before the universe decides I have had quite enough peace and comfort. The complication arrives in the form of a text from an unknown number at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. Hi, this is Marcus. I'm a former client of Vanessa's companionship service. I stare at my phone like it has personally insulted me. How did you get this specific number? Your review response on her profile, she replied to it using this number accidentally, I think, before she could switch accounts properly. I checked the profile. Sure enough, her response to my 5-star review had used a contact number from before she could have redirected things. What exactly do you want, Marcus? Just to talk. I'm in the city for work this week. About what specifically? Vanessa and I had a situation that sounds similar to yours, I think. I go very still. What do you mean by similar? I hired her for an event, and afterward we started actually spending time together outside of it, and then she told me she has a professional policy and can't date clients. Something cold settles in my chest. Vanessa told me the policy clause had never been used before with anyone. But was Marcus the situation that existed before the clause was written? Was Marcus the specific reason the clause exists at all? I meet Vanessa that evening, and I am not good at hiding things when they matter. Something is clearly wrong, she says the second she sees my face. Someone texted me. I show her Marcus's message. Her expression changes in a way that's hard to read precisely. Not guilt exactly, but something more complicated and layered. Marcus. You know him. He was a client about a year ago. He said you had a situation like ours. She's quiet. Is that true, Edna? I ask. It was different. Different how? She puts her coffee down on the table. We spent time together after the event. I thought it was heading somewhere real, and then I decided it was getting complicated, and I used the policy to end it cleanly. So the policy actually exists because of him? Partly, yes. And the clause that makes the policy not apply to me? She looks at me directly. Is that why you told me about the clause? Because the policy was already broken once before and you knew it? No. Are you completely sure? I'm sure I told you about the clause because Marcus is specifically the reason I know the actual difference between the two situations. What's the difference? She's quiet for a moment. Marcus needed a girlfriend to solve a specific problem he had. He was never actually interested in me as a person. He was interested in what I represented and what I could fix. A solution. Yes, a solution. And me? You texted me about cookies, she says. That's your entire criteria for this? You found a reason to keep talking to me that had absolutely nothing to do with the service or what I could do for you. You were just curious about an actual person. There's a real difference between those two things. I sit back in my chair. But what actually happened with Marcus in the end? He was upset when I ended it, but it concluded professionally and he moved on eventually. Does he contact you? Occasionally when he comes to the city? Do you respond? I haven't responded in 6 months. I nod slowly. Okay. Are you actually okay? I'm doing the thing where I process information outwardly instead of internally. Give me a minute. She waits without saying anything. She's genuinely good at waiting. Okay, I say again. I'm actually okay. You're sure? Your policy has one prior incident and a clause you wrote based on that incident, and you used the clause with me, which puts me in a different category entirely. That's accurate. And Marcus texting me doesn't change any of that. No, it doesn't. Then I'm okay. She exhales slowly. For what it's worth, but when you said fine just now, you sounded exactly like a person who has spent too long on 4chan and has learned to suppress emotional reactions before anyone can see them. That is exactly what happened over several years. It's not a healthy pattern. Grandma says the same thing? She's right. You two are going to be a consistent problem together. Vanessa almost smiles. I text Marcus. She's not available, and we'd both prefer you not contact either of us again. He doesn't respond. That's probably fine. We move completely past it. Time skip 2 months later. Things are actually good, not surface good, deep and real good. Vanessa's design business is going well enough that she's turned down her last 2 inquiries from the companionship service. She's fully retired from professional fake dating. She says I'm her only legacy client, and she means it as a compliment, which is either genuinely romantic or a significant warning sign, and I have decided to treat it as romantic. Then the moment I have been quietly dreading since the very beginning arrives without warning. Mom wants a proper gathering. Not Sunday lunch, not a casual thing, an actual family gathering. And she wants to formally announce to everyone that her son is in a serious relationship. This means Grandma, Kevin and Melissa, Cousin Derek and Brittany, Aunt Carol with her printed achievement folders, Uncle Rich probably arriving on his motorcycle again, in spite of the season. The full roster assembled in one place. And the full roster means the full exposure risk because most of them don't know how any of this started. Kevin knows. Grandma knows. And everyone else still believes the bookshop story without question. Vanessa and I discussed this at length. What do you actually want to do? She asks. The bookshop story is technically still accurate as an origin story because we did have a briefing call and I did tell you about a book I couldn't find. That is an impressive and creative stretch of the factual truth. I've been trained by someone who specifically chooses which parts of the truth to present. She gives me a look. What do you genuinely want to do? I want to go to this dinner and have it be normal and not have to explain the complete origin story to my entire family all at once. We can do that. Grandma will know everything anyway. Grandma already knows everything. She might say something out loud. She might. But Grandma is fundamentally on your side. Grandma is on Grandma's side, which currently overlaps with yours entirely. Fair point. The dinner happens on a Saturday evening. Big table, full assembled house. Uncle Rich did bring the motorcycle. It is currently not warm outside, but he is absolutely committed to the bit. Aunt Carol has a folder. An actual physical folder of her children's activities and achievements sorted by category. Derek and Brittany are there. Brittany's ring appears to have been upgraded since I last saw it. Derek is wearing a polo shirt that's slightly too tight, which suggests he's been making gains at the gym and wants everyone to know. Mom has genuinely outdone herself with the food this time. Vanessa arrives with me, and Mom essentially adopts her on the spot within the first 2 minutes. She gets introduced around the entire table and navigates every single person with complete ease. She knows who everyone is because she has a memory like a well-maintained database. Aunt Carol asks about her design work and gets a full and engaged answer. Uncle Rich asks if she has ever done branding work for a motorcycle brand, which is the most Uncle Rich question that could possibly be asked. Brittany asks about the restaurant rebrand project, and they fall into a genuinely engaged 10-minute conversation about consumer psychology and brand identity. Derek watches Brittany talk to Vanessa with a look on his face that says he's realizing his fiancée is considerably more interesting when she's not trying to perform for him specifically. That is a Derek problem and not mine to solve. But Kevin and Vanessa exchange a single nod of mutual acknowledgement across the table. They have achieved a formal detente. Melissa and Vanessa get along easily because Melissa is actually quite funny when she's not in competition mode, and Vanessa has a specific ability to draw that out of people. And then there's Grandma. Grandma is seated right next to Vanessa, which is either Mom's mistake or Mom's quiet genius. For most of the dinner, they're just talking at their end of the table. I can't fully hear the conversation from where I'm sitting, but I catch fragments. Something about online communities, something about specific boards. Vanessa is actively talking about internet culture with Grandma, and they are both visibly interested and engaged. This is either the best or the most concerning thing I've ever witnessed. Derek leans over to me during the main course. Your girlfriend is genuinely unbelievably cool, he says with the slight undertone of someone admitting something against their will. I know. How did someone specifically like you end up with someone specifically like her? We met at a bookshop. He stares at me. That's the nerdiest origin story possible. We contain multitudes, Derek. You keep saying that because it keeps being true. He goes back to his food. After dinner, while dishes are being cleared, conversations naturally split into smaller groups around the house. I'm helping Mom in the kitchen. She's perfect, Mom says quietly while loading the dishwasher. She's not perfect. She's just genuinely good at things. That's actually better, Mom says. I look through the kitchen door into the living room. Vanessa and Grandma are sitting together on the couch. Grandma is showing Vanessa something on her phone with evident enthusiasm. I am going to spend the rest of my life not knowing what that specific content was. Kevin appears beside me at the kitchen doorway. Grandma's showing her posts, he says quietly. From where? I'm not going to tell you. Kevin! She seems genuinely delighted by whatever it is, he says, watching Vanessa laugh at something on Grandma's phone screen. She's going to be completely corrupted. She handles your grandmother better than you do, and always has. He's not wrong about that. Later in the evening, people start leaving in waves. Goodbyes take forever, because they always do with this family. Uncle Rich revs the motorcycle before pulling away, which is completely unnecessary but entirely on brand. And Aunt Carol gives everyone a printed photo of her kids as a parting gift, which is objectively strange, but we all accept them. Derek pulls Vanessa aside privately before leaving. I watch from a careful distance, suspicious. They talk for 3 or 4 minutes. He leaves with Brittany, looking genuinely thoughtful for the first time in recent memory. What did Derek actually want? I ask. He asked me for a recommendation for a couples therapist. I stare at her. He asked you specifically for a couples therapist recommendation. I apparently give off a very competent and trustworthy energy. You give off competent everything consistently. I referred him to someone I know professionally. It might genuinely help them. You are currently in the process of fixing Cousin Derek's entire relationship. I'm pointing him toward a resource. He has to do the actual work himself. This woman is incredible, and I need to say that out loud more often, apparently. Grandma comes over as the last remaining guests head to their cars. She looks at me for a moment, then at Vanessa, then back at me. Not bad, she says. For Grandma, that is equivalent to a standing ovation and an encore. High praise, Vanessa says seriously. I showed her the board, Grandma says directly to me. Which specific board? She knows which board. Grandma nods once at Vanessa, like they have established a private arrangement. Vanessa nods back. I am never asking what was on that phone, and I have made peace with this. Grandma leaves. It's just me, Vanessa, and Mom finishing the dishes. Mom is humming while she works. She only hums when she's genuinely and deeply happy. We drive home later, city quiet. Yeah, that was a genuinely good dinner, I say. It really was. Better than the first one. Much better. I didn't have to pretend anything at all. How does that actually feel? Not pretending? She thinks about it honestly. Harder in some specific ways. Harder? When I'm performing, I know exactly what I'm doing, and there's a clear structure to follow. And without the structure? She looks out the window for a moment. It's scarier. For what it's worth, I say, you look the same from the outside. I'm not the same. Is that a good thing? She doesn't answer right away. I need you to stop being surprisingly thoughtful about things, she says finally. Jed, why? Because it makes maintaining any kind of professional distance significantly harder. Your professional distance ended months ago. I'm aware. We pull up outside her building. She gets out, pauses at the door. For the record. Yeah? The policy was always optional. Meaning? Meaning I could have dated Marcus or another client if I wanted to. The policy was something I constructed for myself because it was easier than risking being genuinely wrong about someone. What changed? You left me a 5-star review that specifically mentioned perennial plants, and I thought, this specific idiot is worth the actual risk. I laugh. Very romantic. I'm not known for romance, I'm known for thorough preparation. And now? She shrugs. Now I'm improvising. She goes inside. I sit in my car for a moment. I text Grandma. It went well. She responds with a single image. It's a green check mark. That's it. Grandma's approval delivered as an image macro with 0 additional commentary. I drive home, get inside, sit on my couch. The same couch where Vanessa sat eating Mom's chocolate chip cookies 3 months ago because I texted her about a baked goods situation instead of doing the rational thing. Think about the 5-star review. Think about Parsons. Think about perennial plants. Think about the policy clause. Think about Marcus and what she said about knowing the difference between someone who wanted a solution and someone who was genuinely curious about a person. I was just curious about a person. I still am. Probably always will be. Open 4chan, post anonymously, hired a fake girlfriend for a family dinner event. As she is now my actual girlfriend, grandmother has formally approved, brother has accepted the terms, cousin Derek is going to couples therapy as a direct result. The system works if you let it. Responses within 4 minutes. This is the green text I genuinely needed today. Did Grandma call you a Janny during this whole thing? multiple times across different phone calls. You're literally the guy she told her not to worry about, except you hired her to come over. Completely based outcome. Does she know about the board? The grandmother herself showed her the board, apparently. Your grandmother's more based and red-pilled than you will ever be in your entire life. She really genuinely is. I closed the tab. I text Vanessa. You should know my family is going to invite you to Sunday lunches indefinitely from now on. She responds, I know, your mom already texted me separately. She has your number? She got it from the family group chat your brother added me to. Kevin added Vanessa to the family group chat. Kevin, who interrogated her like a trained detective. Kevin, who called me an idiot to my face. Kevin added my fake-turned-real girlfriend to the family group chat before I even knew the group chat existed. I text Kevin. You added her to the family chat. Kevin. Someone had to do it. Kevin. Also, she called me a cuck and was completely right about it, so she's earned the spot. I am surrounded by chaotic people, and I mean that entirely as a compliment. But Vanessa sends one final text. Your grandmother just added me to a completely separate private chat. With who else? Just the two of us. What does it say? She sent me a link. To what? I'm not telling you. Vanessa. You'll find out eventually, maybe, if she decides you're ready. I put my phone down on the table, stare at the ceiling for a while. Life is genuinely strange sometimes. You can hire someone to solve a problem and accidentally solve a lonelier one you didn't know you had. You can shitpost anonymously for years thinking you're completely fine with everything, and then a girl with a notepad and a professional policy and a clause shows up and starts taking actual notes on your life like it's worth knowing. The fakest thing that ever happened to me turned into the most real thing I have. And in somewhere right now, my 73-year-old grandmother, who has been on 4chan since 2009, is sending my girlfriend links through a private chat, and I am choosing to let it happen completely. Because grandma is always right. And the fake girlfriend never actually left. My face when I hired someone to pretend to like me for one dinner event and ended up with a real girlfriend, a family group chat membership, and a grandma who called me a Janny across 3 separate conversations and was completely correct every single time. That feeling when you realize the Redditor move would have been to never take the risk and go back to being alone. And the 4chan move was apparently hiring a professional and then being so consistently and specifically weird about it that she decided staying was worth it.
Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting live from his childhood bedroom, the man who paid $250 to solve his mom problem. Put your hands together for the biggest Janny alive.
Yeah. Woke up on a Tuesday, mom texted again. Your cousin got engaged, isn't that great, sweetheart, amen. Derek's a cook, but he's got a ring on his hand while I'm arguing with Redditors about supply and demand. Pulled up the website, profiles on display, $62.50 an hour to make feelings look okay. Called her up on video, she had a notepad ready. Researched the garden plants, kept her hand real steady. She knew my dad liked football and my mom liked flowers. She spent more time prepping than I did in 3 hours. Walked through that door like she owned the place. Grandma looked her dead in the eyes, right in the face. Oh, she's fake, but she stayed, she stayed, she stayed. Paid her for 4 hours, now she won't go away. $2.50 for a dinner, got a girlfriend instead. Grandma called me a Jenny and she went straight to bed. Cousin Derek rolled in with his polo too tight, doing that thing with his eyes when he saw her that night. How'd a guy like you end up with someone like her? She hit him with a smile so smooth it was basically a blur. I didn't know people came in leagues, sounds exhausting to track. Derek retreated immediately and never came back. Meanwhile, Kevin's pulling up Google on his phone, searching for a profile like he's working homicide alone. Hold on, we interrupt this broadcast. You want to tell us you hired her and she stayed? That's not a love story, that's a glitch in the simulation. Also, your grandmother called. She says you're a Redditor and you do it for free. Oh, she's fake, but she stayed, she stayed, she stayed. Paid her for 4 hours, now she won't go away. $2.50 for a dinner, got a girlfriend instead. Grandma called me a Jenny and she went straight to bed. Grandma picked up the phone on a Wednesday night, said, boy, you're being a Janny, it ain't right. You hired a girl, she ate cookies on your couch. She went for coffee twice and you're still playing it safe. Ouch! I've been on this board since 2009. I know a code when it's standing right in front of the sign. Call her right now or I'm posting about you. An unconfirmed Redditor does it all for free too. March Marcus texted from a number I didn't know. Turned out to be a client from a year ago. Said, hey, we had a similar situation once. I said, buddy, she's taken, please don't be a dunce. Kevin added her to the family group chat. Melissa approved, Eric's in therapy, imagine that. Bookshop story holds up at every single dinner. Professionally fake, turned permanently winner. Oh, grandma showed her content on a private screen. I'll never know what it was, and I'm making peace with that scene. Mom hugged her twice, dad did the garden tour in the dark. This woman researched perennial plants for a 4-hour lark. Oh, she's fake, but she stayed, she stayed, she stayed. Paid her for 4 hours, now she won't go away. $2.50 for a dinner, got a girlfriend instead. Grandma called me a Jenny and she went straight to bed. Who's a cup? Who's a cup? Who's a Jenny? Who stayed anyway? Who stayed anyway? Who's been on the board since 2009?
This has been a Tendy Tales production. Grandma approved this message.